Hi everyone, this is Hiba from My Little Journal, and today I'm going to be working in my Ring Traveler's Notebook. I will be documenting 4 photos from our recent Eid holidays, and I'm going to grab my We Are Memory Keepers punch board to punch out my holes. Now, when I punch out my holes, I punch the top holes at 20 and the bottom holes at 21, and that way it fits perfectly in my Ring Traveler's Notebook. I love the pattern paper that I chose, and what I decided to do, or I had this vision in my head that I would have layers of paper on my spread to kind of back up my photos. So I went through my scrap drawer and I grabbed a bunch of scrap paper that would match my pattern paper perfectly. Now these papers are not going to fit perfectly on my 2 pages. And that's okay. When I do a technique like this, when I have layers and layers of paper, I'm not looking for perfection because a lot of my photos are going to cover the imperfection. And I'm kind of looking for something that's imperfect because the paper is really just going to add that dimension and texture. So I'm just going to go for it. I just want to add these papers for color and texture, not to perfect my page, if that makes sense. Now you can see that last piece that I added with the kind of corally pink, that does not cover both pages. And that's okay because I'm going to end up tearing some of those, tucking them behind my paper just to add that color I'm looking for. Now when I'm creating layers upon layers of paper, what I like to do is build my layers with different shades of the same color. This really makes everything pop. I really also love adding black and white. I don't know why, but in my head, black and white just works and it makes everything kind of look more dimensional and adds a lot of texture. Also tearing, lifting your paper up. This also helps kind of add those layers and create that texture that you're looking for. So just go for it. Don't look for perfection and just go ahead and stick those layers down. Also, I will be, like I said, tearing my coral pink paper, and I will kind of add one to the top of my layers on one side of my layout, and then add the other one to the bottom part of my layout. This also helps kind of bring the eye to the top and the bottom of your layers. Now, another great way to add more texture to your spread and your layers is to actually layer your photos. Now, when you layer your photos over so many layers of paper, go for something darker like I did now. I went for a darker pattern paper. This will also make your photos kind of be the center point of your layers, and those layers won't take away from your photos, if that makes sense. So just go for something darker to back up your photos, and that way your photos will always be the center point of your spread. Another favorite for adding more layers and texture is using your glassine bags. Don't throw away your glassine bags. If you are subscribed to any kit, or you purchase something and it comes in a glassine bag, keep them, use them to add texture and layers to your spread. And it will really help kind of calm down all those patterns you added. Just by adding that glassine bag across my layers, it really helped kind of mute it down a little bit, and it added that perfect texture that I was looking for. Now, I'm going to be stamping on my spread, and I will be using the new stamps that released at scrapbook.com. They released some Christmas in July stamps, so obviously they are Christmas themed. And you guys know I come from a different faith, so we do not celebrate Christmas, but I'm going to use these Christmas themed stamps to document our Eid holidays. And you know how much I love to think outside the box and use my stamps whenever I can. So what I'm gonna do is use that first stamp set. It's a beautiful stamp set. It's called Big and Bold Holidays. I love that happy holidays. So I'm going to ink up the top part of my stamp. Just use a little piece of scrap paper just to cover my layers and stamp out happy at the top. Then I'm going to ink up the bottom portion of my stamp and then stamp holidays on the opposite side of my spread. Happy holidays doesn't have to be for Christmas. It can be for any holiday you want it to be. So this stamp set was perfect for me. I was able to use that beautiful happy holidays. It kind of reminds me of neon lights, so I was really excited to use it. Now, another stamp set in that release is called Heartfelt Christmas, and it had a stamp, a circle stamp that said handmade and a snowflake in the center. Now, I really wanted to use the handmade because one of those photos is just a photo of our traditional cookies that we make for the holidays. So I thought the handmade was perfect, but the snowflake not so perfect because obviously my photos are in the summer. But I can always cover that up using an embellishment. Whatever the case is, I can cover it up. So I'm going to go for it. I'm also stamping out May Your Days Be Merry and Bright. Again, I know it's for Christmas, but it doesn't have to be for Christmas. It works for any holiday. So I'm stamping them on some white cardstock. I'm going to grab some punches and punch them out. I'll punch that circle stamp with the circle punch, and I will be using one of my hexagon punches just to create my own embellishments. I always recommend this to you guys. Use your stamps to create your own embellishments. And also in that scrapbook.com release, there was a stamp set that's called Naughty and Nice. And I really liked the stamp that said, "You slay me." So I wanted to use that to kind of add to this photo of my daughter and niece. So I'm going to end up stamping it right underneath them and put my stamps aside and start adding embellishments to add more texture. So I start with my puffy stickers. I always do that for some reason, but I'm going to end up adding a heart. I will also add some stars because I felt like that happy holiday looked like a neon sign. So I just felt like the stars worked perfectly. So I end up adding some to the happy and some to the holidays, and I will go through my chipboard. Now, I went through my chipboard trying to find something to cover that snowflake that I talked about earlier, and I found a little circle that said like, and it was in black, so it matched perfectly. So I ended up using that right in the center of my snowflake, and it worked great. But once I added it, I felt like I wanted to add more circles. My layout kind of looked a little bit too boxy. I had a lot of square photos. My papers were kind of rectangular. So I wanted to break it down, and using some chipboard, circle chipboard really helped with that. I end up adding them to both sides of my spread, and that way it also helps bring the eye from the top to the bottom, and it kind of creates this visual triangle, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of those circles to my layout. It's going to add a lot of texture. It's going to add a lot of depth to the spread. I'm almost done with my spread. I'm just going to grab my Tim Holtz phrase booklet and add a few phrases right underneath this photo of my brother and I. I just felt like it needed a little something, so my go-to is phrase stickers. And I'm also going to add one right above my stamped happy just to balance everything out. But I'm not done. I want to add some crystal drops, so I'm going to grab my black and I believe like a dark pink crystal drop just to fill out those empty spots. I'm a huge fan of crystal drops. I always feel like they just finish up your spread perfectly. But once I'm done with that, I call my layout done. Don't forget, I add all the links for everything I used in my videos down in the description box. If you are documenting Christmas in July, definitely check out these stamp sets. And if you love them and you don't want to use them on a Christmas themed layout, still definitely check them out. Like you can see, I used them on something other than Christmas and they worked out perfectly. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye!